it is early on this Money Monday for Miss Aurorah, Secured Entrepreneurs. But guess what? KJ sent me this horrific video of a man giving out so much misinformation about private trust. I wanted to just throw the phone like out the window. I'm just so tired of these people regurgitating misinformation. So in this video, Miss Aurorah is going to debunk everything this man is saying about what a private trust really is, because he doesn't know. And I'm going to let all of the visiting entrepreneurs here know exactly what the perks are behind having a private trust, because all the secured entrepreneurs already know the power behind the private trust. So what this man is saying in this video, outright buffoonery, we're going to debunk it. Okay, can we do that? All right. So for those of you who do not know who I am Miss Aurorah Dey, and this is the Secured Entrepreneur Movement. Secured entrepreneurs, look at this.
Your trust is private?
Absolutely.
You're sure?
Yes.
Do you have money in the trust, like crypto or anything like that, cash?
Of course.
Where's that sitting? At a bank?
Yes.
How'd you get the bank account? Did you have an EIN?
Yeah, EIN.
And there it is. Just handed over their private trust and all of those assets into the jurisdiction of the IRS. Some of you have your houses in a trust, which, look, I'm not saying that's a bad idea, but please don't think that it's private. Your house in a trust is sitting there blinking big lights at the county saying, there's a trust here. It can be attacked. And because it's in common law, the trust, any level of law, civil law, family law, probate law, administrative law, uniform commercial code, all of it can attack it. And it's plain as day. There's nothing private about your trust. There's nothing private about yours. And if you put a house and cash in it in a bank account, not only is it the county, it's also the state and now the federal. You've basically thrown your assets to the feet of the people that are going to take it anyway. Might as well incorporate it.
All right, you heard it. Let me go here first. This is where I want to go first. The man said something about, oh, you got an EIN. Oh, what did he say? You recorded the deed, your house is in or whatever. Oh, it's up for grabs. They're going to see it. Let's go attack it. Let me address that part first. To start, in order for any government agency to take any interest in your private trust, the trustee would have had to commit some type of tax evasion, some type of fraud, or some type of other illegal activity to even put that trust on the radar. Okay, so examples of tax evasion. Now, all of the secured entrepreneurs know that when it is you have your trust connected to maybe a brokerage account, when those dividends come down and you draw those dividends down into the trust account, that is counted as income, is not counted as principal, right? Well, we know that the brokerage house is already going to have let the Internal Revenue Service know that they paid out some dividends to your entity. Now, the trustee has to do one of two things. The trustee is either going to assure that those monies are now distributed to the beneficiaries, or if the money is allowed to sit in that trust account past a year, then the trustee is going to file a 1041 and pay taxes on that income. However, we know that we're going to utilize this entity for all of what it is designed to do. So the trustee is definitely going to assure that some beneficiary is getting a disbursement. Now, one of two things happens here. We know that we can give a gift to the beneficiary. And right now, the gift for an individual is in the $11 million range. We know that those are the new numbers that Donald Trump put in place when he was the president. If in fact the Internal Revenue Service or Congress or whoever's going to make that decision decides not to move forward with the number change in 2025, I believe. Some secure entrepreneur correct me in the comments if that's not correct. Then we just go back down to the $5 million per individual. And who's hurting with $5 million tax free, right? Because the trustee can decide to give the beneficiaries a gift so that the beneficiary does not have to pay tax on the disbursement. Now, if the trustee decides not to give the beneficiary the monies as a gift, then the tax burden would fall on the beneficiary if the beneficiary is a taxpayer. 9 times out of 10, the beneficiary already understands how to utilize every tax deferral strategy known to man. So that's going to be worked out. All right. So in the event of any type of tax evasion, that would mean that, well, hey, the trustee just did not give out that money, and the trustee also did not file a tax return. But we also know that that could come years down the line. It could be years before the Internal Revenue Service decides to write you a Dear John letter. Okay, so we're just leaving that right there. And then any type of fraud, people are out here doing a whole lot of things. We read about it all the time. We are continuously reading about it, that there are instances where a grantor or a settlor would also play the role of a trustee. And this is where we get into the creditors having the ability to, his word, attack. Okay. Now, if you are creating a private trust, whereas you're playing the role of the grantor as well as the trustee, and you really created that entity to evade taxation, because Ms. Aurorah always tells you that you can legally avoid taxation, but you cannot legally evade it, right? If you did it to evade taxation, if you did it to avoid paying your creditors and things of that nature, you will not catch a win there, because number one, the grantor trust is not irrevocable. It's revocable. So there's really no tax advantages there. There's really no hiding there. And if your creditors can prove that you created the entity just to defraud them, and they have to prove this in a court of law, well then whatever you put in there is up for grabs. Okay. So we don't want to do that. Okay. So yes, in instances of any type of tax evasion, fraud, or any illegal situation, all right, you run the risk of a government agency actually taking interest in your private trust, which is why we always properly put these trusts together. We properly construct the private trust, and we allow the trustee to understand their duties, the do's and the don'ts. Remember, this is a contractual agreement between the grantor and the trustee. So there are private terms, okay? There is a private administration happening. And the other thing, as it relates to the attack, remember that the beneficiaries are really the only beings who have the authority to come against that trust via the trustee. They could say, well, the trustee is mishandling the assets of this trust. The trustee is stealing from the trust. The trustee did not do what the trustee was supposed to do. Also, we have had instances where we have had trustees take incapacitated people and do things that, yes, illegal. Okay. So you want to always be mindful of these things, because these are the things that would actually put your private trust on any type of government agency's radar. And let me address the EIN situation. Now, unfortunately, we already know that's the system. In order for the trustee to go into a financial institution, okay, with that entity, yes, they're going to ask for the EIN. They sure are. But when you have a properly structured trust, guess what the financial institution gets? They get the certificate of authority. And what does that state? Who the grantor is, who the trustee is, who the beneficiaries are. They need to know that they have a valid trust coming into that bank. Okay. Once the legal department takes a look at that certificate of authority, they say, okay, you can go ahead and open up this account. The financial institution does not get your entire trust, all of your trust documents. They don't get your entire trust. Okay. The management and all the other things that belong to that trust entity, the financial institution does not see. The Register of Deeds does not see all of that. They're going to see that deed. They're going to see that here's the trustee, and they may ask for a certificate of authority to see who the players are simply because you filled out the wrong form. And we have had that happen many times. You fill out the wrong form. They're calling you. They're sending you a note. Okay, listen, we need to see this because something is not right here. We need to know that this is being recorded properly. Why? Because people steal people's property. It happens all the time. So they're just looking out for people. Okay, so you know, we've got instances like that you want to be aware of. Now, let me get into the debunking of the whole, oh, well, then your trust is really not private because you've got an EIN and you done went and recorded stuff and all this. First of all, the private trust is distinguished from the public trust due to the nature of beneficiaries and the level of confidentiality as it relates to its administration. Understand that a public trust, the beneficiaries of a public trust would actually be the general public, especially if the trust is charitable. Okay, it's a more broad and general situation as it relates to beneficiaries. A private trust is going to name specific individuals or specific groups of individuals. All right. So that's the difference between private and public. It doesn't have anything to do with what this man is saying in this video. Okay. And you have to remember that the private trust is created for a specific purpose relating to specific beneficiaries, whereas the public trust is created to assist the public, a broad general audience or group of people. Okay, we already know that we've got a whole lot of charitable trusts out here that actually serve the public, the Goodwill, Salvation Army. You know, we could just name a whole bunch of charitable trusts that are in operation, and the beneficiaries are the general public. Okay, so that's the difference. Private means we have a specific purpose for this trust. We are naming specific individuals. There is a high level of confidentiality with this particular entity because it is regulated via the contractual agreement that has been signed and notarized between a grantor and a trustee. Okay, and that trustee has the fiduciary duty to care for all assets. Okay, and how those assets are handled for the benefit of the beneficiaries. The public trust is serving the general public, and there are specific reporting requirements. Okay, that trust is public. All right, I could really go there in this video, but y'all let Miss Aurorah know how deep you want Miss Aurorah to go with this subject, because I could really keep y'all here for 48 more hours. I try not to make these videos so long, but y'all write like, oh my God, the video was only 30 minutes. You could have went on with that. And I'm like surprised, like, wow, I'm so happy that the secured entrepreneurs have such a long attention span. So anyway, please, I want to thank you for emailing. Please continue to do so at info@AurorahDayConsulting.com. And you all know you can find me, Miss Aurorah Dey, at AurorahDayConsulting.com. And until next time, ta-ta.